We are back with Unity Radio's 97.9 FM, Alliance for Charitable Gifting of Real Estate. And today we're talking with someone that has a whole different perspective than some of the other folks we've chatted with. The American Endowment Foundation is a advisory fund type of organization. And our guest today, Laura, knows a lot about commercial real estate. We were just playing around with the analogy around a 1031. Let's talk to those who, first of all, explain real quickly what a 1031 is, and then what that fun analogy was.
Right. So oftentimes with the 1031 exchanges, you have owners of real estate that are selling a property, but then re-leveraging those proceeds to buy another property. Oftentimes, they do this numerous occasions, each time maybe getting into a larger, more sophisticated type of property. And then at some point they decide they're ready to get off the train, so to speak. They've done enough of these, they've incurred enough leverage. They want to be able to move on, go on to other avenues. And we've often talked about, with myself and with the folks at Realty Gift Fund, about being able to jump off that 1031 train without breaking your neck. Because often what keeps somebody from getting off that train is the idea that they have all of that appreciated leverage that they would then potentially owe taxes on. So being able to leverage that property through charitable gifting allows them to go ahead and mitigate some of that appreciation that they've had accumulated over those different exchanges over time, so that they can still go ahead and get off that train, but also create a little bit of charitable benefit in that process while mitigating some of their taxable exposure.
So for some of us who still didn't know what that meant, because when I was in real estate, that didn't make sense to me, but I love that you're so educated. Let me dummy it down. If you have a property and you don't want to pay capital gains tax when you sell it, but you also want to stay in the business of being an investor, if you take that property and do a 1031 tax exchange into another property of equal value or more, let's say you had $50,000 you would have paid in capital gains tax. It is deferred. It doesn't mean it goes away. It's just deferred. Right. So now if you defer it up again and you defer it up again, in other words, you could have hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars in deferred capital gains. And now here you are at the end of your career and you're like, wait a minute, instead of paying $1 million in capital gains tax, if I donate this property, I can avoid that and get 100% of the appraised value. So no matter how we feel about the federal government and about paying taxes and Uncle Sam, there are a few little caveats, a few loopholes that when you know them, you can 1031 to avoid. Mm-hmm. And then you can also do a charitable gifting, because from what Bruce has taught me in 1917, when they created the charitable gifting of real estate, the government was trying to encourage people. So a 1031 encourages you to shift money, get a bigger building, get another piece of property. And this charitable gifting encourages you to be philanthropic, give to nonprofit. So whether you're doing it because you want to help the veterans and the puppies and the kids and the animals and all that, or whether you're doing it because it's just a really smart exit strategy for you as a business person, either way, that's why the government created it, yeah?
Correct. Yeah. And it's a great tool, especially, as we talked about in the previous segment, oftentimes folks want to be able to support numerous charities. So being able to work with a group like Realty Gift Fund in these types of scenarios can allow them to work with Realty Gift Fund in that transaction, work with Realty Gift Fund as they do that final sale of the property. And then with the proceeds that come out of that sale, being able to either add that to their donor advised fund at American Endowment Foundation, or to distribute that to 5, 10, 12 different charities of their choice, where they can go ahead and really create meaningful impact across numerous organizations in a way that a single charity may not have the bandwidth or the capacity to really accept that type of gift individually and shepherd it themselves.
Mm. Now, you are out of Ohio, is that right?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
But American Endowment can do transactions and take clients all over the country, yes?
Oh, yes. We have about 9,000 families we work with all over the country currently.
Wow, 9,000 families.
Mhm.
Very cool. So would people want to reach you, what's the best way for them to do that?
So they can reach us. Our website is www.aefonline.org. That's www.aefonline.org.
So I am hoping that this radio interview that we're doing will make it to your website, or however you want to send it out to the people that follow you and work with you. And just FYI, what the alliance, so the International Alliance for Charitable Gifting of Real Estate, has been created so that Realty Gift Fund and myself and the other businesses that are a part of it can make sure that $1 billion is donated to nonprofits worldwide by 2025. And one of the ways that we're doing that is by educating and certifying real estate agents in how this works. And only 1% of realtors nationwide are going to be able to get certified. So for example, in Ohio, there are 50,000 real estate agents. So only 500 of them will be able to get certified. So if you are hearing about this and you think, wait a minute, I'm a real estate agent, you're telling me you'll guarantee me a full commission to help sell these properties, and I can help my local church or soup kitchen or children's organization, instead of helping them sell raffle tickets, I can find properties to actually have donated to them, and I get paid a high commission for that. I want to learn more about that. You can contact Laura or myself, depending on what kind of questions you have, and we can help you with that, right?
Correct. And of course, the folks at Realty Gift Fund, because they are definitely the best and the brightest when it comes to some of those real estate trickeries.
They are the best and the brightest. And one of the things that Bruce has said to me probably 30 times by now is do what you do well. So we are
Yeah.
shifting that to do what you do best and refer the rest, refer your
Yeah.
ally the rest. So in other words, they are absolutely the best at being a facilitating nonprofit or a collaborative nonprofit, being that facilitator in the middle. And then the real estate agent, they sell the property. That's what they do best. And
Correct.
we are getting these real estate agents certified so that instead of with me and my big mouth letting everybody know about it, instead of having 500 calls a day come in to pick their brain and how does that work and here's an hour with this person and that one, when the agents are getting certified and they know how it works, now they just need to reach out to Realty Gift Fund because they say, hey, I got this gal with $1 million piece of property. What do we do now?
Right. Right. And the important thing to remember too is that oftentimes it's been educated that the property needs to be debt free. And we have worked with Realty Gift Fund in the past where there have been properties that have been contributed that are still carrying a certain level of debt. It does recharacterize some of the charitable deduction, but it does make it so it is still a possibility to explore versus just setting it aside because you may still owe debt on that property and may not be able to necessarily absorb paying off that debt prior to making the charitable gift.
Well, actually, thank you for bringing that up because the properties that qualify are those that have 50% equity. At least 50% equity is a prime property. And also the property needs to be what Bruce calls marketable. In other words,
Mhm.
don't worry about, donating a dog property or something that's just an albatross that you can't get rid of. That's not the point. It's not to unload garbage. It's that, as a matter of fact, Realty Gift Fund, if they are going to pay off your mortgage to take title, and if they are going to commit to holding it for the next 3 months to a year, if that's how long it takes to sell it, they need to know that it's marketable, that it is sellable, that someone will want to purchase that property. So they're pretty smart cookies, and they wouldn't take it on if it was contaminated or unsellable in any way, right?
Just, well, not only them, but just any charity is not willing to take on that additional burden. And that is part of the reason why we started using Realty Gift Fund, was to help limit our exposure as an organization to not doing what we do best. As you mentioned, real estate was not one of those things that we did best. So we were utilizing Realty Gift Fund and still utilize Realty Gift Fund because they are one of the best ones that we can rely upon to really do the appropriate due diligence and make sure it's a workable transaction and really execute on that for both AEF and the donor in that process.
Well, as we come to the end of the show, the reason that Realty Gift Fund and CamiBaker.com partnered together to create the alliance is because there's a couple of other companies that I found during my research time, doing my due diligence, that can facilitate these types of transactions, but the majority of them are what we would call, bean counters, kind of just analytics. And if the property were to be donated to them, they may give the agent 1 or 2% to get rid of the property because they don't understand real estate. They don't understand the whole process of, look, you want to pay that realtor as much as you possibly can to incentivize them to sell the property so this money can get out to the nonprofits that need it so much. So Realty Gift Fund is really just the perfect catalyst for this, with all of their real estate background and really knowing the best ways to disperse the properties. So Laura, is there anything that you'd like to share here at the end of our show?
Just to restate the fact that this has a lot of untapped potential. And we see this across the board. And a lot of the reasons why it is untapped potential is partially it's not something readily thought about, but also too, a lot of charities are ill-equipped and hesitant to take this on themselves. They don't always realize that there could be an intermediary to help them with that process. So the more that real estate professionals become educated about this opportunity, the more that they can talk to their real estate clients about this opportunity and how this works, can really unlock a lot of dollars across philanthropy in general, not just organizations like AEF, but local charities, other national charities, community foundations, all of these organizations that may be ill-equipped to be able to do something like this on their own without somebody to help guide them in this process.
Well, that's exactly why with all the real estate background I have, and then the last couple of years with all the dozens of nonprofits, when I heard about this, my ear went up like, what? What's that? This can help all three legs of that stool, the real estate professionals, the property donors, the nonprofits. It's a win-win-win-win-win-win-win. There's nothing to not love about it. How could you not love getting paid full commission, having no capital gains tax, and not just fighting over the 10% of cash that people will donate, but actually being able to tap into the 43%. And now, instead of asking for a handout, you're actually offering to help that person in their tax implications. So Laura, thank you so much for bringing a really educated, different spin and perspective on this. I love that you have the commercial background and just all of it. I really appreciate your time. You are listening to Unity Radio 97.9 FM. The Alliance for Charitable Gifting of Real Estate is all about educating, creating relationships and resources and certification for real estate professionals, property owners, and nonprofits all over our country, and with the goal of $1 billion donated to nonprofits worldwide by 2025, because remember, the property is in the United States that we're talking about because of the United States tax law. However, once it's been sold, that cash can go anywhere that it needs to be used. So reach out to me if you think you qualify to be on the show. See you guys later. Bye.
Thank you, Cami.